Hey, I'm Noah Wagner. I'm 22 years old, and I'm a senior psychology major at Nazareth College. I'm transgender. I was born female, and I'm a guy. I don't really think I'm all that exciting. I wouldn't tell anybody that in an icebreaker. Let's see. How did I feel, and how did I know that I was a man? I guess, I don't know, the same way that everybody else knows, their gender, who they are. If everybody were to close their eyes, just think about yourself. Who are you inside? That is your gender identity. My gender identity is and has always been male, even though my external parts didn't really mesh with that. For the most part, people's identity, their gender identity, and their biological identity are a pretty good match. And for those of us who it's not, we fall into the transgender category. Transgender is kind of the umbrella term for anybody that kind of crosses gender boundaries. Transsexuals, cross-dressers, drag kings, drag queens, intersex. Pretty much anybody that hops over the fence every once in a while. So technically, I'm transsexual because I go one step farther. In order to feel comfortable, I need to change the way I am on the outside. So I need to get my external to match my internal. I always knew that. I always kind of identified as a guy. In high school, pretty much wore jeans and t-shirts and stuff. Every once in a while I would wear a dress or something. I have my senior pictures in my wallet. So this is me now. And then this is me at 17 or 18. So these don't really look alike anymore. Another picture. Let me see. This is the one that everybody remembers me as. I don't know if you can see it. As I was a tomboy. I always played in here. I have basketball, karate, hockey, drums, soccer, and softball. Always played sports, always hung out with the guys. I was just kind of one of the guys. It really wasn't all that different, except I was a girl. Not all that exciting, I guess. Alright, let's see. How long did I know I was... I always knew I was male. Again, going back to this. It took 20 years to be able to get the balls to transition. Sorry. That was funny. So how long has it been since I transitioned? 2 years. This is actually kind of an interesting thing that I'm experiencing right now is when do I stop being transgender and when do I just become a guy? I kind of am actually at that point right now. I'm done transitioning, so I don't have to identify as being trans. I just identify as being a straight male. You don't have to transition in order to be transgender or transsexual. It's kind of cool. You just do as much as you want to do. There's no rule, have surgery or anything like that. I just chose to. I've been on testosterone or hormone replacement therapy for a little over a year, and about 2.5 months ago I had top surgery, which is a bilateral mastectomy kind of thing. I had the chest that if you were female, you would enjoy. Not being female, I didn't enjoy. What they did was they took the breast, I guess, and cut under it, and then flattened it down. So I had that done about 2.5, 3 months ago, and that's all the surgery that I'm having. It's my preference and what I wanted to have done, and I'm done. I'm satisfied. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm done transitioning. Now, having said that about your choice on how far you transition and what it entails, if you don't transition, you might have a harder time getting things legally changed, such as birth certificates or passports and name change for your license and all that stuff. I got my name legally changed and my sex on my driver's license and everything. What was my family's reaction to my decision? I'm gonna kind of switch that around. What was my family's reaction to me coming out as being trans? In high school, I had to come out that I liked girls. I didn't really identify with being a lesbian because lesbians girl, and I'm not a girl, so I had to come out that I liked girls. And my parents were supportive, but they were scared. They didn't want my life to be any harder than it had to be. You know, they really just wanted the easiest life for their daughter. And 4 or 5 years later, they would realize that they would want the easiest life for their son. It was sophomore year of college that I finally talked to them. And I was like, look, I'm a boy. And it was hard for them. They never stopped loving me. I never felt that they treated me any differently. Not to say that it was easy for them, because it's not. They raised a daughter. They've known this girl since she was a baby. They're trying to accept the fact that it's a son. I try to give the idea that it's not losing a daughter, it's gaining a son, but it really is losing a daughter first and then gaining a son. I didn't realize how much I had changed since being a female, I guess. I thought that I was going to transition and I would be happy and be the same person I was, and for the most part I am, but little things have changed. So largely I'm the same person, but I am kind of a different person, which is good because I'm a happier person. So as far as the reaction to me coming out, it was supportive. It was completely supportive, completely loving, and I was really lucky with that because I've heard of a lot of stories where that's not the case. My family's reaction to me beginning hormone therapy, my parents wanted me to wait a little bit, see if I could start transitioning either after college or during the summer or something, and I didn't. I just needed to. I needed to just start. So I did, and while they weren't necessarily happy with the fact that I started right when I did, they, all right, you started, we can't really do anything about it now. My family's reaction to my decision to have surgery, up until that point, it was kind of difficult to get them to call me Noah and to use male pronouns and everything. But as soon as I told them that I had made a consultation appointment, they jumped on board and they were like, all right, we're coming down. Mom and Dad went to the consultation with me, and from then on, I was he and Noah. Never once did they really try to ever change my mind or anything like that. They had full faith, I guess, that I could make these decisions. I knew enough where I wasn't just kind of haphazardly chucking things around. I really knew what I was doing, and I really knew that was what I needed to do to continue to live a healthy, happy life. And I was right. Explain my experience about being transgender. I guess I really don't have anything exciting about being transgender. It does kind of make me a unicorn kind of thing. People don't, they know about them or know of them, but they don't really know them. I've been asked to do interviews, TV program. I was interviewed on the radio at NAS. I've been asked to come in and speak to different college classrooms, stuff like that. That's cool. I haven't had any negative experiences, which is awesome. I'm very lucky. I don't really identify as being transgender anymore. So that time period was really quick. My transition took about a year. So it was fast, and now I just get to live life as a normal guy. I'm really looking forward to that. What would I like people to know about being transgender? It's hard. You really have to throw out all of the other notions about who society thinks you should be, who your parents think you should be, who your friends, who your girlfriend, who your boyfriend think you should be, and really just internalize it. Who am I? And once you figure out who you are, and you can take the proper steps forward to becoming whole, or as whole as you can be. It's interesting that the people who make transphobic remarks and stuff like that, they have not the foggiest idea in how difficult it is. Something else is that being trans is pretty cool. You get to kind of experience both sides of the gender spectrum. Lord knows we don't know how to understand women at all, and so I like to think that I was given the divine right to spy and kind of go incognito as a woman for 20 years and come back and explain everything that women think and why women do the things that they do. 20 years later, I still have not the foggiest idea. We have different experiences than other people do. I think people should listen to those experiences, because not everything's black and white, like obviously, but you know, those experiences make life interesting. So ask people about their experiences. Another thing, if you don't know how to address someone you think might be transgender or anything like that, if you don't know, just ask them. How do you refer to yourself? How do you identify? I wouldn't ask someone to talk about their life in front of a bunch of people, but if you pull them aside and say, you know, would you mind talking to me about this, or would you mind, you know, talking to a class, or you know, sharing your experience or something like that, then they might, but I wouldn't do it out in public. It's never, ever your place to out someone who is trans. Never, ever anyone else's except that person's. No matter how close you think you are to that person or how much you know about their story or anything like that, is absolutely not your place. Let them out themselves. Let them tell their story. We're not weird. We just have a harder time getting our bodies to match up. You guys had a much easier time. And I use you guys loosely. I'm talking to the people who have bodies and minds that work together, and they're pretty good matches. You've had it pretty easy in terms of this. Gender is something that most people can take for granted. And when you can't, it has the potential to be kind of rough. When it finally does, it's the most gratifying and wonderful experience that anybody could have. And you will learn and know more about yourself than pretty much anybody around you. It takes a very strong person to be able to transition, and they have to have a lot of courage to be able to do it. I guess the last thing, trans people generally love themselves. Probably too much. We all pretty much border on narcissism. So if you ask us to talk about ourselves, we will just continue to ramble until people cut us off. If there's anything else, give me a shout out, and I will try to answer things as best as I can. I hope I answered everything in a way that was helpful and not too boring, not too dry.